Tonight, I come to you from what people swear is a haunted dungeon. Man, my life is weird. Well, maybe not that weird anymore. My life, sure. But the pursuit of things that go bump in the night has long since gone mainstream. You see, my earliest outings to purportedly haunted places were laced with lies. Miss the 90s. Sometimes. The curious neighbor inquired why we were in suburbia. We were Uncle So-and-so, just in town for the night. As opposed to the truth, that we were investigating unexplained events that your neighbors have been experiencing for the last year, and that they are at their wits' end with literal tears in their eyes from terror-filled sleepless nights. Understandably, that's a lot for most people to wrap their reality around. Here's another one. If a dog walker asked what we were doing at a derelict building on the edge of town, we were students working on a history project. Far less likely to evoke a police call about trespassers at that old abandoned factory on the edge of town. Or the one where townsfolk see the man-sized moth with those radioactive red eyes. Yeah, great case. Such cloak and dagger rarely required any longer. Everyone does seem to have a story, neighbors and police included. Back then, you see, it wasn't just content for clicks. Mystery was life bleeding into the edges of the unknown. Maybe that's what I miss. Not the years, but the feeling. That feeling that came with learning something new over time and with significant effort, rather than, as we do, quickly scan our pocket computers for oversimplified overviews absent any nuance. Mystery wasn't just entertainment. It was a way of living with questions, of letting the unknown breathe. But even here, or maybe especially here in the dark of this dungeon, I remind myself, every place has its ghosts. Some remembered, most not. But this isn't about the dead under my boots, but something else that refuses to be forgotten. And maybe that's the thread I've always chased. Not just ghosts of the dead, but ghosts of meaning. While this dungeon is not the focus of the tale to follow, as I wait here for something, anything unexplained to occur, perhaps you'll forgive the temporary echo if I paint the picture before me. It does look a bit like a Hollywood movie set for a medieval castle. It's unassuming to the passers-by above. This dungeon served as a jail from about the 1860s, underneath what would become the courthouse and a modern prison now above me. To get to me, you'd pass down a stone and brick hall flanked with dreary rows of rooms. Bending down and turning sideways lets you just slip through a narrow stone doorway into one of the several small cell blocks. Large stones rise from the dusty floor to meet the uncomfortably low ceiling. The claustrophobic inducing cell I now sit in still seals with a heavy iron gate to my left. Here's to hoping it opens later, because of course I had to close it. The gate is covered in 160 years or so of paint and rust. It barely allows a sliver of light through. Not that it matters much. No windows. To my right, large and rusty chains still hang from the wall. Oh, and spiders. So many spider webs hanging all over me. They've clearly accepted me as one of their own. This dungeon story, however, is for another time. Allow me to regale you with a tale witnessed with my own two eyes. My name is unimportant, but if it helps, those on the back roads call me Winchester. So this tale could be a few things. A monster of a story, an origin story, my origin story, quit saying story. Hopefully it's an atmospherically autumnal production that bounces you out of the hot, humid season fleeting behind us and into the cool, crisp time falling before us. So steady your sea legs, maybe grab something comforting to sip on, because where we're going, there be monsters. Unquiet Realities. Episode 1. Lure of the Unknown. They say it's always best to start at the beginning, so let me take you back a spell. This was the third town I lived in before the third grade. I don't know if that's relevant, but it was impactful. Better to unpack all of that on a professional couch someday. For now, I have yet to fully focus my thoughts on what the impetus was for what would become my life's work in the mysterious, the unexplained, and as of yet unknown. No small questions here. Why do we do what we do? Beyond indoctrination. Is there more than just societal norms? Those obviously shift immeasurably each generation. I guess what I'm building to is, did I waste my life? Now, I've asked myself that question lots of odd places. Standing in unexplained crop circles, in the jungles of Central America, trudging on the trail of Chupacabra, even where we're headed next, Lake Pepin, where witnesses claim many sightings. Sometimes the monster of the lake rises from its surface. Every place I went looking for meaning, something strange was already waiting. Sure, I could have raised a family. I could have stolen a fortune, wearing a tie or looking down a barrel. I've come uncomfortably close to both. I could have done a lot of things differently, but what I did was choose a path that was very clear in my mind, even if perhaps it wasn't clear to anyone else. Looking back, albeit now through decades of whiskey and concussions, even at that young age, I was moved by mystery the way other boys were by sports. And to this point, I have refined my views, and I suspect what I had yet to winnow was the source of my youthful trepidation about organized sports anyway, was for there to be a winner, it was required to create a loser. Too binary, man. I'd been a loser before, didn't care for it. Now, I'm not saying competition doesn't have its place or an upside. For me, I just don't think I could ever convince myself that the upside was worth creating the downside for someone else. At least not when it came to trivialities. An unpopular stance I'm ever reminded immediately after it slips out through usually beer-loosened lips at an obligatory sporting event. Timing. Where was I going? Yeah. Apparently, whatever it was that broke me from organized sport, clearly I still had a drive, some undefined fortitude. Maybe it was because I moved around and didn't have those roots that I, being the mysterious newcomer, leaned into mysteries too. I guess it would make sense that my youthful shunning of competition would naturally lead to a level of ostracizing. Perhaps the simple mystery of not understanding my own social standing was mystery enough for me to gravitate towards them consciously. Found them I did, and wow did I lean into it. Back to grade schooler me, I got a job. Well, as much of a job as any fifth grader can have, working for my neighbor Helen. One of the perks was a stack of maps, nearly as tall as me. And these were not just your ordinary glove box maps, oh no, but maps from all around the world, all different sizes and shapes, and even ones of the ocean floors. Yeah, to say I was fascinated would be an understatement. I think maps made my world seem even bigger somehow. I think that's supposed to be the opposite effect. Maybe all the literal drawing of the worlds into two-dimensional focus. All the places you could go, all the places for mysterious things to be, full of possibility. You know, and at this time I was already working my way through every nonfiction mystery, paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot type book at my school inventoried. So for my eyes, I didn't just see a map of the ocean floor. I saw possible clues to the Bermuda Triangle mystery. The hubris. And dutifully, the maps went up on my wall, and stared at them I did. Oh, I wonder whatever happened to those maps. Maps show borders, but mysteries always seem to seep beyond the lines we draw. Maybe life works the same way. We all put up superficial borders in our lives, restrictions on what's possible, what we're capable of, what's allowed. Hell, what's maybe just beyond the shadows. If maps give us comfort, maybe it's only because they hide the vastness of what we still can't chart. I don't know. I often feel that way about reality. 27 years later, and I'm sure totally unrelated, I find myself at the end of a long day before another expedition seeking the unknowable. You know, I used to think mysteries had a finish line. Solve the riddle, close the case, cue the applause. Turns out it's more like a guitar solo that never quits, never quite resolves. Keeps bending upward until it fades into the night sky. The road hums a familiar tune under baby's tires. It's a mix of asphalt and memory. Long train running, black water glimmering. Somewhere between the mile markers, I realize carry on isn't advice. It's a commandment. So I do. Engine low, headlights cutting through the static, still rambling on. waiting for the next verse. Eventually, drifting off to sleep, my mind wanders. Did I pack that dive knife? Yep, pretty sure. Did I remember to pack all the binoculars? Yeah, triple checked. Did I pack that pirate beer? Splurged the extra money I didn't have on it. It's just too perfect of a time to try it out. Priorities. Yeah, it's already in the cooler, in the car, waiting. Funny thing about waiting. Waiting is where all the possibility lives. The moment before the curtain rises, before the answer arrives, before the monster surfaces the water. Waiting is uncomfortable, but it's also where everything worth living for is hiding. And maybe that's all hunting the unknown really is. Waiting. Waiting with enough patience that eventually the darkness answers back. This adventure started differently. I wasn't in control. Thankfully, different and out of control could decidedly be the theme for my time muddling through the fringes.
Got the feeling in your bones, make you feel right at home. Honey, does it well, keep me dancing till I'm dead. I ain't looking back, ain't looking back, ain't looking back.
First of my cohorts for this trip is Keel, author of more than a dozen, make that 24 books on all things unexplained. He had taken point on putting a lot of the things together for this journey. I knew the basics. We were heading to the Mississippi River, specifically along and the widest stretch between Minnesota and Wisconsin. It wouldn't be our first time to the area. The difference, this time, we'd be spending a few hours motoring up the river by boat to Lake Pepin, home to the infamous lake monster, most recently renamed Pepin. While the $50,000 cash reward for proof of the monster isn't needed to get us interested, we concede it will be secured by at least Sunday. It should go a long way towards the next adventure's bar bill. Even though there are likely sightings on Lake Pepin every year, one of my favorite serpent reports is from way back in 1875. Mr. Hewitt was guiding a skiff with 2 boys on Lake Pepin when they reported seeing a dark, strange-looking object rise up out of the water. Now, they've spent plenty of time on the water and knew what a log and typical things might look like. So this creature they reported rose 6 feet up out of the water.
Look at that. What was that? No way. Did you see that?
They said it was clear and distinct. They watched. The mystery continued. The area had plenty of additional dark history and unique legends to explore. A maritime disaster, the Sea Wing, still the worst on the Mississippi River to date. 98 souls lost. Let me just read from my hunter's journal here. I can get that. There was a line that I remember reading from the headlines that was just brutally beautiful. Here it is. The whole heavens had been converted into a lightning-lined black canopy of death. Not bad. And of the 200 on board, it was estimated that 150 ended up in the water during what the locals would later say was the worst storm they had ever seen. Imagine you are holding on as your giant vessel that you were so sure of gets thrashed about, completely powerless, grabbing onto the railings, the walls, anything you can to steady yourself, and the very next moment, you're underwater. It happened that quickly for some. The lucky ones fought their way to the surface only to be rewarded with black of night and howling wind. The deafening thunder, pouring rain, and the waves taller than you stand, dunking each survivor rhythmically back under suffocating water. Not all the wreckage or souls were recovered. Disaster and delight always seem to share the same waters. Maybe that's why legends linger. They live in the extremes. For those that prefer lighter fare, water skiing was invented here in 1922. From mass tragedy to recreational water dragging, history has range. Well, I'm sure I was smirking as I slid behind the wheel of the Challenger, eager to spend the day on the back roads pushing the massive metal wrapped in a black muscle car north. The stereo decides when to work, but if you hit a bump just right, you'll catch half a verse of Ramble On. Seems fitting. Heading further north, I meet up with fellow adventurer Wizard. If you saw him, you'd think, yeah, this guy could have the largest occult book collection in the Midwest. Didn't take long to pack up the vehicle and head out. Wizards travel light. Our last seeker of solitude on the fringes, Summerwind. Founder of Paranormal Research Society, probably a few decades back now, and a solid collegiate academic to boot. We connect with Keel at the monster's lair, Lake Pepin. Only 5 hours of map to cover on the highways, and the clear option for any adventurer is the back roads. Naturally, the drive takes 3 times as long when done successfully. Goals. We were able to pack in an average Friday for the avid legend tripper. It began by wandering through a spectral light-filled graveyard on the greener side of about 2,000 unmarked graves. After interviewing 3 witnesses to get some first-hand experiences, second-handedly, of mysterious phantom sightings, we followed that legend by roaming a dark forest reportedly patrolled by a ravenous pack of hellhounds. We were able to brave 2 wooded bridges guarded by ghosts, albeit derelict in their duties during our visit, and later speak with the owners of a haunted B&B, followed by a kind and off-the-cuff tour including their recounting of a full spectral apparition. If memory serves, it was right at the end of the hallway. Wild stuff. All in a day's work. Of course, we finished the day with more than a few spirits of the liquid libation sort. Throw a couple hours of sleep in at an aging motel on the shores of Lake Pepin behind us, and you've got the classic makings of a day worth living. Or dying for. By morning, we were ready for a good old-fashioned lake monster hunt. The rising sun brought a round of caffeine, 20-minute drive, and a handful of power bars. We arrived at the marina, greeted by a pontoon boat that had less life in her than more. Embracing the added challenge to our adventure, we stowed our gear on the deck and shoved off. Pulling from the safety of the harbor, we were greeted by the wakes from speeding luxury yachts. Wave after wave crashed against our aging vessel. Yeah, I can still feel that, smell that cold and crisp spray that covered everything. See, I'm not one to reach for the umbrella in the rain or worry too much about getting a passing chill in winter. When it happens, I just feel more connected to what I don't know. Just kind of grounds you, you know? I welcome this added lake water mist connecting me to my surroundings, especially as the temperature climbed into the 80s, with humidity not far behind. Adding to the navigating challenge are the behemoth barges slowly tugging their way up the river. They leave a continuous wake of 4-foot rollers today. It was trying our vessel for sure. We slowly and ominously lifted to the crest of each, only to crash down twice as fast. Without warning, the chair holding up Summerwind gave way and sent him tumbling down. The chair didn't just break, mind you, but splintered apart, leaving him lying in a pile of jagged pieces as sharp as a knife's edge, and most of them more than a foot long. Summerwind, not only not impaled and bleeding out, but not a scratch on him. +1 point to him for not dying. Honestly, surviving death should have probably been 2 points, but the story has got to be better than my chair broke. The points. No one keeps a real tally, but everyone claims to be winning by a wide margin, mind you. The more of us in the group, the more points are tossed about. And I suppose it's a way to level up our adventures and keep things light, even when we're just short of getting run through with chair swords. It was quickly agreed that we would need all 22 feet of our aging vessel to return alive. Danger around every wave. It was good to feel alive again. Funny thing about danger, it's the only time we really notice being alive. I don't know, maybe that's the gift tucked into every close call. Seems like it's easy to let danger put us on our heels. You know, talk to that special someone who has our eye? No way. Apply for that dream job? Talk yourself out of it before you even start. I know I've been in that boat. Maybe we tell ourselves danger isn't the enemy. Maybe it's just life's way of tapping us on the shoulder, reminding us the clock is running. Get going. 2 hours later, we reach the southern end of Lake Pepin. Our hearts quicken with the possibility. So many sightings before us. One from 2004. 2 friends were boating on the lake. One was fishing and one was taking photographs for later inspiration of his watercolor paintings. They both witnessed a large, long, undulating creature with at least 20 feet exposed to the surface water at once. They later reported, and to much of their amazement, there was a long neck that rose up out of the water. Just like the ensuing photographs showed, rarely circulated, we got our hands on a few. Pretty interesting stuff. The energy is high as the water calms. Potential dead ahead. There is a certain kind of person who is drawn to this hunting life. It's not about glory or fame or money. Well, perhaps it used to not be. For me, it's mostly been something else. I mean, Indy wasn't all the way wrong, am I right? Fortune and glory, kid. But for me, there's always been something is not easily held. You know, I think Emily Dickinson may have been talking about this when she said, "I dwell in possibility." Not an exact reference to my situation, mind you, but the world we live in is not a finished product. It's a place of constant potential. And our role, maybe, is to explore that potential. I don't know. You know, I wonder where yours is. Teaching, knitting, politics, the wilderness. I still don't think I know mine all the way. Don't think we ever truly can. Just gotta try. If you don't know yet, good. It means you're still alive enough to search. I guess mine, in part, was mysterious from the start. I suppose my life may be a testament to the idea that to live is so startling. It leaves but little room for other occupations. Yeah. Again, gotta thank Emily for that insight. Even if, or especially because, it illuminates a significant shortcoming of my own. All healthy growth tends to be uncomfortable in my experience. Better on the other side of it, though. Curiosity is risk, and risk, like danger, is just life tapping you on the shoulder. You just need to be curious to start, to be open, and to be brave enough to admit that you don't have all the answers. Then, man, just lean in. Careful to not lean in too much, lest you end up like me. I don't know what a wasted life is, but I know this. Every question asked, every risk taken, every wonder chased, none of those have ever felt wasted to me. The weight of days, the weight of screens, of a life that never lets wonder in. Maybe chasing answers isn't the burden. Maybe never asking is. I suppose it's just that simple to start. But that, as any seasoned traveler knows, is often the most rewarding part of the adventure. Not the destination, the prospect of the unknown. Maybe just breaking free from our overscheduled and structured lives. Allowing yourself to feel what to do next, to react to what the next situation throws at you. Maybe that's why our screens feel so heavy. They promise constant stimulation, but rarely wonder. Mystery doesn't fit in a notification. The journey, I suppose. The whole damn thing. Every bit of it. There is no adventure without misadventure. Maybe the better question is, what's wasted? The time spent chasing answers, or the time spent never asking. Well, this day was just beginning. Full of wonder, full of wonderful what ifs, dead ahead. We were dwelling entirely in possibility. We were living. As long as the chairs didn't kill us before the lake monsters could. Until next time, remember, adventures come to the adventuresome.